On Saturday night, T.I. told jokes at the April Fool's Comedy Jam at the Barclays Center, where he was met with boos during his performance. This comes just days after T.I. claimed that comedy ain't that hard. That evening, T.I. performed alongside veteran comedians like Eddie Griffin, Bruce, Nick Cannon, Michael Blackson, Joe Torre, and several others. For the last several months, T.I. has made his rounds on the Atlanta comedy scene, and some of his recent behavior has rubbed both new and veteran comedians the wrong way. Today, we have our comedy hype analysts, Vanessa Fraction, Capone, and Pierre calling in to give their reactions. But first, let's take a look at this clip.
He walks in, probably slamming his mom. You hear me? Nailing his mom. We ain't been the same since. You got one more motherfucking album out of me. It's called Kill the King for motherfuckers like you. And I appreciate y'all because you make me the absolute best, nigga. New York has made me the motherfucking best, nigga. I appreciate you.
Now, Pierre, I want to dive straight into this. I'm going to start with you. What was your reaction when you first saw this clip?
A little surprising and not surprising because, first of all, New York is a certain market. They want you to come with it. And if you're not prepared for it, you know, and he's a Southern rapper, so he's not even in with the New Yorkers aren't really digging that kind of, you know, his feel anyway, I think. So they were looking for him, you know, to better bring it. And if he didn't bring it, they were going to voice their opinions. Where some places, they wouldn't necessarily voice their opinions if they just liked him. But New York is a totally different beast. And, you know, he learned a lesson that, you know, comedy isn't as easy as maybe he thought.
Now, Capone, I know you're from New York, so I definitely want to hear from you. What's your reaction once you saw that clip?
I wasn't surprised. New York, definitely, if you got to bring the funny. I think that Trouble Man has been given a pass on a lot of things, even to be put on a show at the Barclay, which is a big arena. And I know he's big in arenas with rap, but if he never respected the craft, this was definitely something to make him respect it a little bit more. And even when he was doing his interview, he was like, you know, I needed this and I needed. You're human. Nobody wants to get booed. And to think it was that easy, I think it was well crafted and deserved just for him to respect the craft.
Absolutely. Now, Vanessa, I want you to chime in on this as well. I see you nodding your head. What are your thoughts, or what was your reactions when you saw this?
I thought that, well, I know because he's T.I., he's getting on the bigger stages, but of course, you think somebody that's only been doing comedy for such a short period of time, you really want to make sure that you have a good set that you done worked and oiled and did all you needed to do, and you got all these crack 'em ups all in between, and now you just playing with it by the time you get to those big stages. Why do you want that? Because audiences pay to hear great jokes. You know what I'm saying? You have open mics for people to practice. A lot of people don't want to pay top dollar to watch people practice. On the other hand, a lot of people in audiences all over the country or wherever want to see celebrities do whatever. So, you know what I mean? Famous people, they can jump on there, and kudos to the other comedians that were on the show, because I'm sure they cushioned it. But it's not nice when you're in those kind of, with all of their funny, you know what I mean? I think he was a guest spot, I'm not sure, but you never want to see those kind of boos, you know what I'm saying? Like I said, 15,000 people booing you or whatever. Sure, those are learning lessons. I see that he learned one lesson already, which was cut that years ago and go to something they really like before you leave, because sometimes it's not the way you started, it's the way you end. And if you end with people feeling good, then they look forward to you coming back. So that was a good spin that he did at the end.
Absolutely. Now, you have comedians that are on both sides. You know, you have people like D.L. Hughley, Marlon Wayans, Michael Blackson, who has spoke out, you know, in support and just kind of saying, you know, it takes years for this craft. You know, people get booed. This is a part of the process. But then you have some comedians that feel like, and I know Capone kind of mentioned that he's not, you know, respecting the craft, or he's not following certain etiquette. So to help educate us, I definitely want to, you know, ask the questions to you, and I'll start with you, Pierre. Why do you think so many comedians are pissed off that he's, you know, stepping into comedy and doing stand-up?
Well, it's like you just said. I mean, there's two divisions right here. One is we as comedians, you know, we root for each other in a certain way that we don't want the craft to be disrespected on stage. We want somebody to do well when they're on stage. We like, why would you not want somebody to do well? We know how hard it is to even get to a point where you can be viewed, especially on a bigger stage. So we want you to do well. But if you're talking about it being easy and you seem not to be going through the motions of trying to get your act tighter, and I'm not saying he isn't, because I've heard him, in Atlanta, he goes to little small spots and try to jump on stage. It's just the fact that he's getting a chance to be on a big stage so quickly without having put the work in to where his act is solid, and him talking like it's nothing to do that. And he's finding out there is something to do that. There is something to do, no different than rapping, Right. You maybe know how to rap at home all day long, but if you don't get if you get in a studio, you got to go cadence, you got to know stories, you got to know breaks, all that kind of stuff, flows and so forth. And comics feel like you ain't putting that, T.I. ain't putting that effort in to do that, and he's been put on big stages. But you can't be mad at him for being put on big stages. That's not his problem.
Right, absolutely. Capone, I want to ask that same question to you. Why do you think so many, comedians are pissed off that he stepped into comedy and doing stand-up?
Because of the disrespect that he has when he goes on stage. For him to come on there and say, I'm not a comedian at a comedy show, I'm a superstar, it's smacking a lot of comedians in the face. This is one thing that you have to understand, even as veterans who's been doing it. The key is being humble. You got to understand the humbleness all the way around. These people don't pay for you to insult them. These people don't pay for you to play mind games. When you go out there and these people pay their money to see an entertainer tell jokes, that's what they want. You can't go up there, yeah, I'm getting this little bit of money. This ain't really nothing to me. You disrespecting. And that's what the people who are dividing is like, yeah, okay, nigga, you gonna get yours. And that's what happens. To us, a boo is you got yours. Bottom line.
Vanessa, I want to bring you in on that as well. What are your thoughts? Why do you think, so many comedians are upset?
Well, I think as the guys were saying too, I want to separate him entering comedy and doing comedy, which, again, that's a divide too. I don't have a problem with anybody jumping into comedy. The problem for me is the behavior once you're in comedy, and a lot of his behavior, especially as of late, has been deplorable and worth condemnation. You know what I mean? It's like you lack the basic showroom etiquette. You know what I'm saying? Which is just sit down and enjoy the show and respect the host. You know what I mean? Holding the mic hostage. You know what I mean? If you're supposed to do 5 minutes, you're doing 30 minutes. That's a lack of etiquette, you know what I'm saying? And people get tired of that, you know what I'm saying, or whatever. We understand there's a certain amount of celebrity or what have you, but there's a certain amount of, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Program as well that I think that you should do so that you can learn how to be a better comedian, Again, even with the last thing that happened with Lauren Knight or whatever, unwanted touching and trying to talk over the host and snatching the mic and this is my stage and all this other foolery, you know what I mean? It's deplorable, you know what I mean? You wouldn't want that to happen at your rap concert or anywhere else in which, you know what I'm saying, you're performing, some new person comes up and snatch the mic from you and tell you it's their stage. So to not recognize that behavior and say that it's, and I don't care, even that bear hug and all that stuff, that's intimidation. That's a little bit scary. You stepped on the stage unless you're invited, and that's by the host, you know what I'm saying? As well as intimidating people just because they talked about you. If you are another comedian or what have you, then you pull that comedian to the side, and that don't mean how your boys call them and all this other shit and trying to intimidate people, because we do know who you are. We do know you're a celebrity. We also do know you're from the streets. So all of your behavior can be considered quite intimidating and it's quite disrespectful. And I could say that those are some of the reasons why people have an issue with the way that you've chosen to enter into comedy, not you doing comedy, but your behavior within it.
Well, Capone, let me ask you this, Capone, because, T.I. has made it clear when he stepped into, comedy, his intentions were pure. He wanted to help the craft of comedy. But at this point, looking back on everything that's taken place, do you think T.I. is helping or hurting the business culture, if you will, of comedy?
I don't think he's doing either. If you want to help create movies and create your own shows, and you got, if you have this type of money, you want to, help the comedians, create these shows yourself, these big shows, and put some comedians on. That's how you do things. That's what I do. I feel like I'm helping young comedians by putting them on stages that they have not yet been on. He is just going into, and like he said, this is his first paid gig. If you ain't worried about the money, you ain't doing all, or, you know, none of this, at least show the effort of wanting to learn. Not that you know it, everybody's willing to learn something. And it just seems like he's really cocky when it comes down to this and disrespecting comedians. And I personally don't like it. I don't mind him doing comedy, but, you know, be humble. That's my thing. I've been doing it for a long time, and I'm humble. I know when I get on that stage, I'm supposed to do what I do, and that's that. But I'm not, you know, talking about, well, let's see who can follow me. Let's see who do this. Or no, that's not the way you do things.
Pierre, I want to bring that same question to you. You know, given that T.I.'s made it clear that he's here to try to help comedy, do you think he's helping or hurting the comedy space?
First of all, comedy's been around a lot longer than T.I. I'm not going to let T.I. be the one that ruins or not ruins. That's ridiculous to even think. For those who think that he's ruining comedy, it's absolutely ridiculous. All the forefathers before him, he's just a rapper that's trying to do comedy. I'm not going to let him, and you know, I think it's foolish for anybody to think that, oh my God, he's destroying comedy. Really? T.I. is destroying comedy? A brother's he's not even a comedian? So no, he's destroying himself doing comedy. You know, he's looking bad up there. So he's, you know, it's on him. The onus is on him to take care of himself. But I'll never think and give him enough credit to say he's destroying comedy. Hell no, there's too many comedians out here. He's making it look bad for himself. He will learn in time. You know, his ego will get bruised enough times that he'll straighten up. Because nobody want to go out there and get booed constantly. It's not a good look. So hopefully comics around him who know him will band around him and help him if he wants help. Now, if he becomes a better comedian and can go on tour and bring 3 or 4 comedians with him to help them out, that's fine. That's a great thing. But I think he needs to get his act ready first before he can get to that point. But I'm not going to say he's hurting comedy. It's foolishness. I mean, how's he hurting comedy? I mean, you think every rapper going to get a chance to get on stage and do that? They'll find out it ain't that easy, to me.
Absolutely. Vanessa, I want you to chime in on that as well. What do you think? Do you think T.I. is helping or hurting comedy?
I don't think either. Definitely, as Pierre said, not hurting because of the fact that, you know, there's plenty of disruptions that come within comedy. And I call it a disruption just because, you know, he's a super spectacular in one arena and then you forayed over into another one and started, you know what I mean, from the bottom. So that's why I'm saying just a disruption, as well as when, you know, different internet comics had to do their, you know, switch over into building a set and stuff like that because they had the people, you know what I mean? So those kind of disruptions are happening. So I definitely find it to be, you can look at it as a progression, if you will, to go with the question. If you're saying, is it helping? I think when people are first entering into this, there's so many avenues that you can go with comedy that you're probably just exploring. So I don't know how much he'll help or hurt. Right now, I think he's in his exploratory phase, if you will. And we've more yet to see, apparently.
Now, I want to ask, and I think this would be, you know, just for good for our audience to get this understanding. When it comes to booking, and Capone, I'll come to you. You know, when it comes to booking T.I., is it on the booking, the venue to, you know, that's making the wrong decision to book him when it has been shown that maybe he's not quite prepared to be on that stage at that magnitude?
One thing you have to understand about comedy clubs, they don't care about anything but asses in the seats. If you're famous and you got a lot of followers, they'll book them comedians. Some of us veterans, we have trouble being booked because of the new thing. And I think that a lot of veterans are upset about that. But I think that the right approach is, if you believe in yourself, hey, go rent out a theater, go rent out your own, you know, situation. And that's what I'm doing. I'm not going to sit and complain that these people ain't booking me. I'm not going to sit and complain that T.I. is being booked and I'm not. I mean, you know, Rip Michaels, good dude. He booked a hell of a show. He didn't expect T.I. to get booed. I mean, T.I.'s been making noise all around. And so for Rip Michaels, it was a business move. For the people that work with, Rip Michaels, it was a business move for them too. It still sold out. They did great numbers. And whatever the consequences was for T.I. for jumping on that, that's up to him, you know. And I will say this, there's a lot of comedians that don't know their worth and they sometimes go into arenas where they overcharge, and the next thing you know, they lose all the way around, because once that boo get there, ain't nobody gonna take no chances on you no more. And that's a big thing.
Absolutely, and thank you for that insight. Pierre, I want to come to you and ask you the same thing. Do you think it's on the bookers, to be booking T.I. when it may seem that he may not be prepared to be on that stage?
I'll kind of go with the sentiment of Capone, but and I'll say this: you have to take the emotions out of it from comedians who are upset about it. This is a business. Let me explain one more time. It's a business. It's not about how funny you are, who's funnier, what's better looking, whatever. It's a business. If you're not putting asses in the seats, they don't care. Promoters don't promote a show because they have favorite comics and they just want to have favorite good comedy show for their favorites. They do it as a business move. They got people coming in to see the show. Now, if they book a T.I. who's not prepared for comedy and they bringing people in there, you know what? A promoter be like, you know what? We'll let him get booed, but these other 4 comedians will rock the show enough. Hey man, if you're a person that's buying a ticket, if you see T.I.'s name up there, you don't want to go because his name is up there. There's 5 other comics you do like, and T.I. is so much of a bother to you, like I ain't going to support it, then don't go see it. But if not, I don't have a problem with them hiring T.I. It's a business. You comics who out there mad about it, if you're not in the same position as him, and most comics who are in the same position, watch what you say, who are making money, who are selling out, they're not complaining about T.I. The ones who complain about T.I., a lot of them don't sell those kind of tickets normally. And I understand that because it's frustrating as a comic saying, here, I have an act and I can't be put on them big old stages, or I can't sell out, or I can't bring the people. I understand. But do you blame T.I. for it? No. The promoter? No. It's a business, man. Blame the business. And when you get yourself in a position where you're business, they'll start hiring you in a business form and then put you up on the big stages.
Now, Vanessa, I want you to chime in on that as well. What do you think? Do you think, some responsibility falls on the bookers when it comes to booking T.I. for these shows?
Yeah, the responsibility falls on the booker to make money. As the guys were saying, it's all about balance. You know what I mean? You want to provide people with a great show, and people want to come together. You know what I mean? When they see a ticket that is pleasing to the eye. They've been booking people that aren't fully prepared. You know what I mean? That's how some, they fall into. You're going to sink or you're going to swim, Right. The other thing about it is when it comes to bookers and stuff like that, and as Pierre was talking about and Capone, some of the comedians that might have a little angst or a bit of frustration seeing it happen, there are so many avenues of comedy that you don't have to just think about being on the road and stand up. You know what I mean? So if you're really feeling like, oh my God, they're pulling the stand up numbers away from me, think about other streams of income that you can pursue. Right. The realm of comedy, whether it's being a writer, whether it's being a warm-up, maybe it's being doing more corporate events, maybe it's skewing your comedy more toward children, so you can have a broader scale of comedy that you can do. There's all type of writing jobs. There's just all kinds of jobs out there that have to do with the funny. So don't always just focus on the money that comes from being on a live stage.
Absolutely. Now, I want to close out with the D.L. Hughley. If you've never fallen, you've never climbed. It's a process. It can't be rushed. Any seasoned vet in the game has bombed. And that was just a repost from T.I. then going live because he did do a a show the next day here in Atlanta. It was received very well, and he was able to talk about his experience of getting booed and how he thought he would never get booed. So I do think, there was a learning lesson for him, regardless of, all the different opinions and things that we're going to continue to surface. But as always, I appreciate you all for calling and chiming in on this one. Pierre, I did hear from the producer that we're going to hire T.I. as an analyst on the show just for you.
Perfect. Bring him on.
It's gonna be an hour long, Jen.
Yeah, bring it on.
No, all jokes, but I appreciate you all for calling and chiming in, and also for all our followers and people who watch out. You can also catch us on Spotify to hear the show as well. So make sure to stay tuned for that and lock in with us. But as always, you heard from us. Now we want to hear from you in the comments below. What were your thoughts and reactions after seeing T.I. get booed on stage? For Comedy Hype News, I'm Symphony Thompson.
Put it in those comments.
What's up, y'all? This is your boy K-Rob, and for years, you come to us to get the latest news in comedy and for your favorite comedians. Now you come to us for even more news in the world of sports. music, and pop culture. We're bringing you some of our classic shows you love, like Unforgotten, the Comedy Hype News Show, and more of our one-on-one interviews. We're more than just laughs. We're the culture, the leaders in truth, and well, your streamer just got a little more blacker. Welcome to Hype Plus.